If you guys have been on the online movie space at all, you might have heard that Christy, unfortunately, has completely flopped in its first opening weekend. And while things, you know what, they could pick up, it's totally possible. I don't really see that happening. I want to give my thoughts on this situation, why Christy flopped, and then we're going to end up getting into the internet's reaction about this as well. I'm ready to talk about all of it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. So there is one more thing I wanted to show you before I give my thoughts on the situation. Variety ended up posting this, and Sydney Sweeney did speak out about this entire thing, okay? This is what she had to say. We don't always make art for numbers, we make it for impact. And Christy has been the most impactful project of my life. This film stands for survival, courage, and hope. Through our campaigns, we've helped raise awareness for so many affected by domestic violence. We all signed on to this film with the belief that Christy's story could save lives. Thank you to everyone who saw, felt, and believed, and will believe in this story for years to come. If Christy gave even one woman the courage to take her first step towards safety, then we will have succeeded. It's a nice thing to say, but the problem is, you never know with these people from Hollywood. This could just be like, you know, the proper thing to say about the entire thing, but I don't know. Like, it's still a nice message. It's still a nice movie. I'm sorry, I haven't seen the movie, but we do hear that it does send a nice message. I just can't say for sure about myself. So again, I wanted to give my thoughts on this entire situation, and then I wanted to get into the internet's reaction because a lot of people are having a little bit of a interesting reaction to this, I guess you could say. So as we did just go through, this movie ended up, of course, you know, being one of the biggest flops in the entirety of movies. And my initial reaction to this was shocker. Look, I'm so surprised. A niche boxing movie starring everybody the media trained everybody to hate failed. Like, surprise of the century right here, guys. I do want to dive a little bit deeper into it, though, and I need to ask you guys because this, of course, like, Sydney is a little bit of a touchy subject right now. I ask that you don't assume anything about my own political beliefs. I do keep them private here on YouTube when I'm talking about these things. I'm going to look at this situation. I'm going to think as objectively as I possibly can. And I need you, as a viewer, to have that respect for me and not jump into the comments assuming anything. I'm bound to get them either way, but I need you to have that respect for me, okay? I do want to begin with, like, the non-political reasons for the flop. Did anybody else see any marketing at all for this movie? I saw, like, a random post about it every once in a while on Twitter, and that's, like, the maximum that I've seen. It isn't just me saying this either. A lot of people have been talking about the promotion for this movie. They just kind of ended up, you know, like, dropping the movie out of nowhere and expected it to work out. I didn't even know that the movie was done. I knew that Sydney Sweeney was involved in a boxing project, and that's about it. And that's because I'm somebody that's involved in the martial arts space, kickboxing specifically. Like, I pay attention, and Sydney was making a kickboxing movie, or a boxing movie, excuse me. But we do need to get a little bit hotter over here, okay? Because we need to be real about this. This is a woman's boxing movie, and whether you think it's right or wrong, the vast majority of the public do not care about women's sports, and they do not care about women's boxing specifically. It's a niche within a niche. It's a dramatic, like, biopic of the person, you know, about a person that the world has never even heard of. So if you have zero marketing, a star that people don't like, women's boxing or boxing in general, of course something like this was bound to flop. I'm not interested in fighting movies either, period, guys. And depending on whether you're not, I know I just mentioned that I'm involved in kickboxing, but if you follow the channel, you might know that I've been a martial artist my entire life. I'm the biggest MMA fan there is to be out there. And I don't like boxing movies. But I do want to circle back for a second because I do want to touch on, you know, like that Sydney Sweeney factor, I guess you could say, because it's arguably the most interesting part and biggest conversation surrounding this movie. The movie stars, of course, we all know, an actress in Sydney who the media has been telling the public to hate over and over and over again for the past little while. Despite her being quiet, not taking part of the conversation that's constantly brought to her, she has been labeled as the new, like, I guess you could say poster girl of MAGA. And we all know, if you're labeled MAGA, that's career suicide for a lot of people. Again, don't assume anything about myself. I'm just thinking objectively here, okay? So now you have the majority of the public who listen to what they see, and what they see is to hate this girl, hate Sydney Sweeney. You have any woman in a relationship automatically also hating her because they can't compete in the eyes of their significant other with Sydney Sweeney. And then you have what's arguably the biggest problem, okay? Ugly people being upset at better looking people succeeding in life. And guys, that is a pill, by the way, that most people are just not ready for, okay? A lot of controversies in culture can be boiled down to ugly people being mad at hot people because Like, they're hot and I'm not. But it's a conversation for another time, okay? Like I said, I'm sure I'll hear comments about that one, and a lot of people aren't ready to hear that one. But there is another thing that I forgot to mention about this entire thing, which I probably should have spoken about a little bit earlier. There's a lot of conversation taking place about Sydney and whether or not she's a good actor. The majority of people seem to talk about like her being a bad actor. What we just spoke about could shed a light on, what's actually going on here, but I don't personally think that Sydney Sweeney is a bad actor. Unfortunately, the only movie that I believe I've seen her in is Anyone But You, and while the performance in that movie wasn't anything crazy, I by no means think she's a bad actor or anything. And before you say that, no, I'm not thinking with my cock, okay? I'm being sincere with you right now. The last point that I want to bring up with this entire thing, though, and it kind of relates to the whole Sydney Sweeney's mega thing. Sorry if this video is a little bit, like, all over the place, guys. I'm just firing ideas here. Something that the left doesn't understand is that the right typically won't go to a bad movie just because they end up agreeing with the politics. So we still don't exactly know what her politics are, but that's kind of like besides the point. She got a label by X. And by the way, guys, I guarantee that after all of this, no matter what, the left has transformed this girl into being right-wing forever with their behavior. Again, conversation for another time, but I don't even think the movie flopping is like owning the right like people are talking about. Also, if I'm not mistaken, the movie is about like a female abuse victim who takes up boxing. It's a weird situation in its entirety, guys, but of course, it's not just about what I think. I wanted to get the opinion on the internet as well as my own opinion. By the way, guys, if you are enjoying the video, please hit like and subscribe. I would love to hear from you in these types of videos, guys. We include conversations about movies all the time and things going on in X, and I'd love to have you guys in these videos. So I wanted to take a look at what some people had to say. One of the top replies, and this is something that ended up hitting the Explore page as well. Someone said, breaking news, biopic films of people who aren't famous perform poorly. While the story could be phenomenal, I don't know anything about this woman, and I'm a fan of boxing, kickboxing, martial arts, you name it. I don't know anything about Christy. It's unfortunate, but that's like the reality of what we're taking a look at over here. Another user had this to say, not one person anywhere actually talking about the movie was actually good or not. Yeah, I've kept up on a little bit of the conversation, and nobody is talking about, hey, I saw this movie, this movie was good, this movie was bad for that reason. Everybody's just kind of like, hey, fuck you, Sydney Sweeney. That's kind of like the conversation that's been surrounding this entire thing. Someone else said, I see similarities between this movie and the one The Rock just made, The Smashing Machine. I hear it's really good and Oscar-worthy, but it didn't do well at the box office. And it's not to do with The Rock's star power or his politics. I feel like it takes a reliable franchise to get people out to the movies these days, and well-done biopics, unfortunately, don't get the respect that they deserve. I think that's well said. Apparently, The Smashing Machine didn't pick up either. I didn't really follow too much about The Smashing Machine, but I know that people just like widely consider that movie to be a flop. It unfortunately makes sense why these movies aren't performing well. Another user had this to say, reminder that she literally has never said or done anything hateful in public. It's all leftists fighting against shadows. I haven't seen her say anything. Again, I'm asking you to not assume anything about me. Maybe there's this clip out there, okay? And I'd love for you guys to point me to it in the comments. Maybe there's this clip out here of her being insanely hateful. I haven't seen it, if that's the case. I'm not denying it. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. It does appear to be a lot of people on the left fighting shadows over here, as that user said. C had this to say, I'll be real, a lot of people don't care about women's boxing, but also low opening weekends don't make it bad neither. I don't think it makes it a bad movie. It just is a movie that they'll have to do a little bit more work into making people care about. But again, like I talked about, it's like a niche within a niche and possibly within another niche. How are you supposed to get people to care about a movie like that? But guys, let me stop you for just a second because we do have more replies that we wanted to take a look at. As you might know, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. If you guys happen to like my commentary, like my videos, I want to be your background guy. We have our toes dipped in multiple niches on YouTube, so if you want, check out the top of the description, the link tree right there, or the direct links to my other channels down below. We are going to be talking about a lot of things every day on multiple channels, so like, subscribe, go check out whatever you'd like. I appreciate your time over here, by the way. Let's continue on to what Noble had to say. Respect. Sydney's taking the L at the box office and turning it into a win for the people. Art that actually saves lives is better than numbers any day. The problem is, you never know. Like, Sydney could just be, you don't even know if Sydney said that. And that's just like some PR manager or something. That's like the thing that you're supposed to say about this. Who knows if Sydney cares about it? Does she care? Maybe, probably. Apparently, they've worked with the actual person of Christy for this. Perhaps she cares. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she wants money. It's just with these celebrities, you never know their true thoughts on anything. And that's like also what you could say if your movie's flopping and like spin it into being a good thing, you know? Sydney Sweeney, if she didn't have generational bazookas. Again, I don't think that she's a bad actor from what I've seen, man. Sorry for the jump cut here, guys, but there is another post that I thought was a little bit interesting over here, but I can't show you on screen because the top reply to it, and I can't zoom in any further, is a picture of Charlie Kirk. So I'm not, I mean, a bad picture of Charlie Kirk, if you guys get what I'm putting down over here, okay? Somebody by the username of Vodka Red Bull had this to say. Never thought I'd see the day when leftists celebrate the failure of a film about a domestic violence survivor being empowered and succeeding in a male-dominated field. You know what? That's a good point. It was about a domestic abuse survivor, so I've heard. Again, I don't know too much about Christy. It's just a little bit weird to like turn that into like, hell yeah, let's own the right over here. I thought that was a little bit strange, but let's continue on over to the next post. Where's the impact? Yeah, I guess there's not really too much of an impact if not a lot of people went to go see it, eh? But as Sydney said, if it impacts one girl, she considers that to be a success, right? She's going to make anybody but you two and make 300 million again anyway. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't like kind of gotten onto that because that was a very successful movie. If you guys want to talk a little bit more about movies, why don't you check out this where we recap a bunch of news that's been going on in the movie, TV show, anime space. I'd love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care, everybody.